All right, welcome back to another episode of Phoenix Edge. This is an RPG and gaming news podcast. My name is Hat.
And I'm Eric.
And I am Stan.
And today we are back with another episode where we're going to discuss 2021 RPGs coming out over the next 6 months. Now, we researched this. We're going to try to cover all of them. We had great aspirations. And then we realized, oh yeah, we do this every year. There's hundreds coming out in 2021. So we tried to narrow it down to the games that we were interested in. And then also we thought our audience would be interested in. So we have 9 games specifically that we're going to try to focus on for this episode. So we're going to be talking about Bravely Default 2, Tales of Arise, Monster Hunter Rise, Persona 5 Strikers, Mass Effect Legendary Edition, Nier Replicant, Ys 9, Cris Tales, and Shin Megami Tensei 5. I believe it's going to be in that order, but there'll be time codes below if you want just a conversation on a specific game, or you can stick with us for the whole episode. So let's start off with our very first game here. We have Bravely Default 2. Now this game's coming out on February 26, 2021 worldwide. There's been 2 demos that have been released already. We had an episode where we played the first demo, and I think we all really liked what we played, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we were pretty positive. But they just recently had another demo that came out in December, and I was just busy playing other stuff, and I have not played that demo. And the reason I have not played it is because the cross save does not carry over into the main game, and it starts you off further into the story. And I felt like I already played the first demo. I was happy with it, but there was a lot of optimization that went on with the game. But I just didn't want to play the game if it wasn't going to carry over, and I'm going to play it again in February. Pretty cool that they actually got people's feedback off the first demo, applied it into the second demo so people can see it. There are some divisive things with the demo that longtime Bravely Default fans have had criticisms about. And the biggest things are really the artwork, the art style with the new game, and then also the battle system itself. A lot of people don't like that it's added an ATB system into it.
I tend to be on the people side. First with the artwork. The people. But anyways, I do agree with the artwork. Like I find like the concept art really nice.
Yeah.
And everything. Of course, that's real nice. What I loved about the first 2 Bravely games is they did a really good job translating the artwork to the character sprites. It gave them like a sense of grit. Maybe it's the right word in translating.
This is the first game, right?
That made it unique.
Our first games.
Like kind of like how Vagrant Story converted its artwork to its characters. And I thought they both did an expert job on that. This one, they look like clay figures. Like that, like they look so plastic that like it kind of takes you out of it a little bit for me personally. But it's not a deal breaker by any means. I just kind of look at it and say to myself, couldn't they just done a little better doing this?
Yeah, so on that, on just the artwork itself, I'm in the middle. I'm kind of with you, Eric, that I agree with the people that have this criticism because, well, specifically, I went back and tried to take a closer look at what people were saying. And I was reading like Reddit posts and like Twitter feeds and just seeing the criticisms that people had. And it seemed like people that were huge fans of the series, they look at Bravely Default 1 and they look at the cutscenes that are in that game, and the characters are like very evenly proportioned, and it's got a certain stylistic take on the characters that people seem to like. And they thought, oh, on the 3DS, the game would look like this, but the 3DS can't handle it, right? So that's why you have these chibi characters and gameplay, and then cutscenes will have these very, realistic looking cutscenes. And so they thought, oh, with a Switch title, Bravely Default 2, it's going to have those graphics, those cutscene graphics, but all the time. And so when they played Bravely Default 2, it had that clay figure look like you're bringing up, Eric, but also it was just more detailed chibi characters. You know, they're even bigger. You could see the white in their eyeballs. And once I looked at it from that lens, I could see where they're coming from, that it is a little weird because they have these massive heads, these really small hands and feet, and then they almost look like babies, but then they have adult voices. And it's a little weird in that highly detailed version, but from what I played in the demo of all the chibi games I've played, I think that demo is the one that like I appreciated the most. I think. I mean, some people say Final Fantasy IX is chibi. I don't agree with that, but I actually liked the artwork for what it was. I thought it was well executed, but I do agree with the people that are fans of the original that if they had gone with that more cutscene route where it was more realistic, I think that would have been better.
Yeah, I mean, I'm fine with it for the most part, but the plastic look is like I don't even care how the characters are structured. It kind of gives off that old school Final Fantasy vibe, like small character sprite type of deal, kind of modernized. So I enjoy it in that aspect, but just the plastic. I was like, I just look at it, I'm like, you couldn't have done better with this. Like, it is a Switch game.
What do you guys think was the motivation beyond them going in this direction? Because, and especially with some of the changes to the battle system as well. Again, with the battle system real quick, I like the game. I didn't have that criticism when I played it last. I think that I have to play it more to get a real good assessment of the battle system and its changes. But the first game was so popular. What do you think made them want to change it up? Because to me, the only thing I can think of is Bravely Second was not received as well, but that was not criticized for the battle system or the graphics, really. It was criticized for the story and, you know, some of the voice acting and stuff like that. It wasn't really the style of the graphics or the battle system that was the most critical. So,
well, as someone who hasn't played, I haven't played the first one, but I'm looking forward to jumping in with this game. This is just speculation, but I wonder if adding in the ATB system, they're trying to get more of the old school Final Fantasy fans to check this game out, because that system is used for the more popular Final Fantasy titles of the golden era, right? Like Final Fantasy 4 through 9 all use the ATB system. So that could be part of it. They think that it's just generally more popular than the traditional turn-based system where it's like strictly like character order turn-based system.
So you're thinking because it's trying to adopt the older style, that if it's almost a marketing type thing where they put the ATB system in there and then it's just going to attract even more of that era of gamers because they see the keyword ATB.
Yeah, I think for sure, like Bravely Default and games like Octopath Traveler, are aiming for that old school RPG feel, and the ATB system is just another kind of staple, right, of that era.
I guess that's just weird to me though, because that might be it, but the first game, Bravely Default original, that was very highly acclaimed. I mean, you go back and look at reviews, they're all great, and I can honestly say it is a really good game. So it's kind of weird that they wouldn't change it up. I was kind of thinking maybe they just want to be more Final Fantasy and like start changing it up every game, where
that could be.
Each new game has its own take.
Let me ask, is it like actual ATB, or is it just calculating the speed stat when it's giving turns to the characters?
It's like ATB, but it's like if you set those older FF games to wait mode. So like if you play in wait mode, like Cloud's turn comes up and then you get to choose what you want to do, and the enemy can't do anything like until you pick like your.
So when the ATB, because I didn't play through the second demo, So when the ATB bar goes, then like everything freezes and you pick a turn.
Yeah,
Type of
pretty
deal.
much.
I guess it's fine as long as the combat is balanced to have it in mind. I guess I'm fine with it. It's more like, let's see how the final product handles it. I just don't want to immediately say no, that's a bad idea because the first game didn't do it.
Yeah.
It's if it has great ways of offering challenge without needless complexity, then like I'm open minded to it.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat where I'm willing to. I feel like I need to play the full game because it's, like let's say with a totally different genre of RPG, but Sekiro, right? That changed the Dark Souls formula up. People said that. Like I played Dark Souls and then I went to go play Sekiro and I had to like relearn how to play the game because they changed everything up. Maybe people really like the Bravely Default system, but over the span of this new style, maybe it's got something different to offer. Anyways, February 26th coming out. We're probably going to check it out. I think that me personally, I'm going to pick it up pretty much day one, but I am going to check out the reviews first. And if that thing's getting like 7s, I'm not going to pick it up day one, But as long as it's getting like the 8s to 9s, I'm going to pick it up day one. What about you guys?
It's probably day one for me. I really like the first 2 games.
I'm on the fence, but like leaning pretty strongly towards getting it like sooner rather than later.
Stan will pick it up, guys. We'll twist his arm.
Yeah, it's probably going to happen. Yeah.
All right. So next game, Nier Replicant, version 1.224744874139.
Wait, what version?
Yeah, 1.224744874139. So that
Very
version. I might wait till version 2. We'll see.
Or at least version like
1.3.
1.445 or something, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't want to play that version.
I'm just glad I didn't play version 1.224744874138 because that was a bad version. But anyways, this game's coming out on April 23rd of this year, and it's coming to PS4, Xbox One, and PC. If you're not familiar with Nier Replicant, it's because you don't live in Japan, but it's an alternate version of Nier Gestalt, and it's a classic JRPG released which is a classic JRPG released in the West. It's an Go ahead, Eric.
Just to quickly clarify, it is the original take on the first Nier game.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, but it's kind of a different timeline from that game. So it's got like a different character. So Nier Gestalt, I never played that game, but is an older man with a daughter named Yona. And Nier Replicant, you play as a younger man, and Yona is your sister. So it's a bit of a different dynamic there, but it's got the same story mostly, but different dialogue in certain scenes. And that version was only released in Japan. However, it is now being remastered and basically remade in some ways for the West for the first time. So what we know right now is the combat is going to be reworked to reflect Nier Automata. And this was because they said they expect many newcomers to pick the game up because they played Automata and they felt that it just made sense to make it reflect that style so they could enjoy it. And then they've added new dialogue into the game as well. And the original voice actors from the Nier games, the one that was in English, they're returning to re-record their lines. I don't know about all the other languages. I'm sure there's some crossover too with that. But they're returning to re-record lines and I guess give better delivery, better microphones, that type of thing. But also new dialogue has been added. So that's pretty cool. And then there's new songs or new music as well. And series creator Yoko Taro commented and said, it's like adding toppings of the world's best ramen. So Taro also said that the game's battle system has to appeal to Tamada's fans. So just another reemphasize that's why he's doing that. And that was from a quote from the man himself. So yeah, seems pretty cool. I guess the number 1.224744874139 is the approximation of the square root of 1.5, which still doesn't tell me why he named it that.
Yeah. It's like,
I feel bad for anyone that has to put that on the SKU at a store.
Dude, I find it hilarious because I keep seeing all these articles. And like YouTube videos, if you look up YouTube videos, like it's ridiculous. There'll be like a PlayStation 4 trailer and it says Nier Replicant version 1.22474477139. Like they like and all and the articles, they try to get like the clickbaity article titles, right? And it can only have like 70 characters. And like the title takes up like 80% of it. It's fantastic. I love it. It's great.
The Game Awards, they have to keep listing it or like under categories and have to say the full name.
Yeah, it's great.
Or you go to a Walmart employee and be like, yeah, I'm looking for a Nier Replicant 1.12346878481.
If I worked at GameStop and someone was like, yeah, I'm looking for Nier Replicant, I would say, which version? Just to jack with them and be like, well, anyways, I think it's great. I think like I put this like I found the idea of Square Enix calling their own games, and Nintendo does this too, the definitive edition. Like they're saying it themselves, not the fans. Like, oh, this is the best version. I thought that was great. I thought that was like marketing genius. I put this above that. Like, this is fantastic.
On the battle system that you mentioned earlier, just to say, it's not going to be a complete like rehaul to make it exactly like Platinum's combat system.
Mm-hmm.
What they are doing though is they got Platinum to come in and improve upon the system of the original Nier game. So they did a lot of things, like they made it much easier to do like trigger commands with your book magic. Combat feels more fluid when you hit an enemy. Like it doesn't feel like you're just like you're swiping at swiping in the air and enemies just happen to be getting hit in the process. Like there's more weight to attacks now and everything. So it's not exactly like Nier Automata, but from what I saw in the presentation they gave, like it is still night and day how well improved the mechanics of this HD remaster is. Like I'm already seeing that like you can't go back to the old combat after you see this type of deal. So it's still significantly better, but it's not like a 1-by-1.
I played the original version, and my impression was that the gameplay, but specifically the combat mostly, was like pretty mediocre or average. Like it wasn't terrible, but it wasn't something like you were itching to play again or was having a blast while you're playing it. You were mostly there for the story and the music, and the combat was good enough, right? But it wasn't like a great feature of the game. So it is good that they're addressing that, since Nier Automata was so popular, and trying to make it not exactly the same as that game, but conform more to that style that people really enjoyed.
Sure.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I find it interesting though, and I'm interested what you guys think about this. The fact that he chose that version of the game that only came out in Japan to do this with, as opposed to remastering the one that most of the world has played. I find that kind of interesting that he chose to do that. So
I kind of look at it this way. I do personally like the story of a father and daughter more than a brother and sister, because we don't get that story too much comparatively. On the other hand, the West has never gotten this version of Nier before. It's only been in Japan. So, like, for even people who played the game before, now have the opportunity to experience it in this new way. So, I guess in a way, I support this decision. Like, I personally prefer the Gestalt setup, but I now have the opportunity to play this game in a different way.
Yeah, I think I think that I agree with you in the sense that it's cool that this game never came out. It's kind of this version of the game. It's kind of like a Mother 3 situation. I guess those two things are kind of different, but it's just we never got to play that version. So now we're going to get to be able to play that version with this different character, and there's a new way to play the game. And it's always had this stigma around it of being only in Japan. So that's cool. But it's also kind of weird because people were big fans of this other game, and where's the fancy remaster of that one, right? But I think that it's kind of a genius move also, though, because since he's messing with this one, adding dialogue, changing the battle system, I think he has more freedom to change this one, at least with the rest of the world, besides Japanese players, but the rest of the world, because we're not going to know really what he did change. You know what I mean? I mean, we're going to be less attached to that version than we would be to, the Gestalt version.
True, yeah, because our protagonist is completely changed. So we don't know what he would have been like localized, how he would have been in English to begin with. So they can make him however they want for this version, at least the English version of the character, and we wouldn't know the difference.
And they can add whatever they want to. Yeah. So I think it was a smart move.
Now they got this whole new audience that they got from Automata. Like everyone loves 2B and like the fashion and style that she uses in their character looks. Unfortunately for Gestalt, I love the character. I do. But he is an ugly fellow. He's very unappealing in a lot of ways. No wonder even Yoko Taro is even telling himself, he's like, I think the pretty boy will probably sell better than the big oafy looking guy.
The gruff, white hair,
like
older gentleman.
Like if you look at screenshots of the PS3 360 version, Nier Gestalt, like, man, I think the character is legitimately ugly. It's like he's not like an older looking guy, like that looks appealing in the older sense. Like he straight out looks ugly to the point that halfway through the game they literally put a whole band around his face.
Yeah,
they're like, oh no, something happened to your eye, better put this whole paper bag on your head.
So they don't want to remaster that, huh? And upscale it.
I think marketing wise, I think the Replicant protagonist will probably sell better.
I think so too.
If I was in the boardroom meeting and we were deciding Gestalt and Replicant, I'd be like, well, we got a newer audience with Nier Automata. They're really heavy into the fashion and style that we brought upon this game. Let's kind of keep that tone consistently going with when we HD remaster the original Nier.
Yeah, I can see that. It's kind of interesting though, I guess, because the other game already has an audience, and it's almost like you could just make a new one too. But I think it's cool that, well, first off, the idea that they even made a different timeline version of the same game is interesting in and of itself. So,
and if I had to guess, the Replicant version is probably the canon in terms of continuing to Automata. They don't mention in the files or anything of them being like father, daughter, or brother, sister, I believe, if in all the lore. So I think they kind of intentionally did that so you can headcanon which one you think is the version you prefer. But I think if you probably ask them, they'll probably be like Replicants the canon.
Well, now that they're re-releasing it, right? That makes sense.
Yeah.
So this game's coming out on, what was the date? April 23rd, 2021.
Yep.
You guys picking it up?
Absolutely.
I'm leaning towards picking it up, yeah. Like it's higher in my priority than Mass Effect or Persona 5 Strikers for sure.
You're not going to wait for version 1.3?
Yeah, maybe, I don't know, maybe I should. Few patches, iron it out. Yeah.
I'm super tempted to get that collector's edition that has that really nice statue of the Nier and the two other main characters that join you on the journey. And the statue, it looks very nice, very highly detailed, and I won't be able to afford it, but it does look very nice. If you're a big Nier fan, I would definitely look into getting the collector's edition. It's a lot of bang for your buck.
Some of these game statues they make are freaking ridiculous in the price. I saw this badass one for Geralt of Rivia. I was like, dude, this looks sick. I'm not even a game statues person. I saw it online. I was like, I want this. And I clicked on it, and it was $1,600.
Whew.
Yeah, but apparently it like
Wow.
comes up to like my rib cage. I don't even. It's kind of a large statue.
$1,600. It better be the real Geralt of Rivia, like in like tiny form.
He
That
like
just
guards
follows
your
you around
house.
and talks to you. Yeah, $1,600. Good lord, I can't
People must
imagine
buy it. Yeah,
what they do to make that worth that much.
yeah, that's ridiculous.
That's crazy.
All right, so this next game that we're going to talk about here, Tales of Arise, this game does not actually have a specific release date other than 2021. It's coming out in 2021. And we threw it on this list because it was delayed from 2020. And there was an interview recently with the director or producer, and he said in December, said that the game is nearing the end of development, and the game has received multiple ratings in multiple countries now. It seems like it's well on its way. What's significant about this game, if you can't tell visually, is that it's no longer using the Tales engine. I believe they were just using the engine that was used for Tales of Xillia, and they were just modifying that for all the games. So this is different. They're using Unreal Engine 4. This is a big deal for the Tales games. This is why the game has taken longer to come out. It's been 5 years since the last release. So that's a very long time. I think that is the longest span of time between any Tales release. So there's a lot of expectations for this game, but many fans seem to be very happy with what has been shown so far. You have free roam combat. You don't have to go to a separate screen. Fantastic visuals, huge upgrade. So it seems like they're really addressing a lot of the concerns from fans. We have our characters' names. The male character his name's Alphen. He's from the medieval world of Dana. And then the female character is called Xian, and she's from a technologically advanced world of Reyna. And the world of Reyna treats people of Dana like slaves, but it appears from the trailer there's some kind of war going on, and these two characters are able to join forces to bring peace, and it seems pretty interesting. So it seems like the development team for this Tales game is trying to do something a little bit more significant. What do you guys think about it? You like what you see?
I definitely like what I see. For the first time ever since Xillia, it feels like a big step up for the series.
Yeah, when I read about that world setup they have, it reminded me of Xenogears, kind of a similar.
You too?
Yeah, kind of a similar thing.
That's what I was kind of referring to.
Yeah. I guess we shouldn't go into too much more on that because that can get into spoiler territory. But
it's probably not going to be as deep.
Yeah, my guess is probably not. And then, yeah, like Eric said, the combat looks very interesting, very different, because I'm guessing they're going to try and eliminate the transition between like an exploration screen, and then like you touch an enemy and it goes into a combat screen.
That's what it looked like. Yeah, they've gotten rid of that side screen. It's just all open environment, which is really cool.
Yeah, but then I wonder if we're just going to have these two characters in combat, or if there's going to be more. Typically, Tales games have a four character party that would even allow you to switch in and out other characters.
I believe they said in an interview at some point that there were going to be more characters. I think they just haven't.
They haven't confirmed them yet. Yeah.
Well, they haven't shown them yet. So,
yeah.
I mean, look, like just as contrast, because we're talking about, this being a significant departure, but a huge upgrade also. I mean, the last one, I really liked Tales of Berseria. I really liked that dark tone, the anti-hero element. I really like that. I thought like the plot line was very interesting, where you had to kind of balance whether, the morality of, ruthless vengeance, or just like somebody with like the ends justify the means complex, right?
Yeah.
You kind of had to balance which one is worse. And there was a lot of interesting stuff in that, and there was some serious criticisms as well. But I was kind of happy with that route, with that game, with that style. If they just continued with that, but fix the combat issues, I would have been okay with it. And then I saw this trailer and I thought, Jesus Christ, this looks amazing. You know?
Yeah.
Because it's an Unreal Engine 4, like I said, and like you can just see from the lighting effects, like it just makes everything look so much better. It's so much more polished. The textures look so much better. And it just looks and just pops out of the screen so much more than the previous games. And it's just like, it makes me really excited that they're trying to like put a lot of passion into it. Cause I feel like Tales games a lot of times don't seem like they have, at least some of them seem kind of like they just pump them out every 2 years and there's not a lot of passion behind it. And occasionally you'll get one where you're like, oh, okay. You give a crap, but sometimes with like Zestiria, for example, that's not a favorite among everyone. So,
Or Zillia 2.
Or Zillia 2.
2. Yeah.
Yeah. But one thing I really do like about this, what we've seen, is the art style for the characters. It's kind of like this hybrid of modern and 90s anime. Like, I'm not a huge anime fan, but it seems very nostalgic to me because if you look at like the guy's face, for example, he doesn't have a round head. He's got a very adult looking face, right? But then his eyes are bigger than normal. But if you compare his eyes to Velvet from Berseria, Velvet's eyes take up a ton of real estate on her face. Like they're huge.
Yeah, that's anime for you.
Yeah, but his eyes are just like a fraction of the size. Same thing with Xion as well. Like the very anime eyes, but not overly ridiculous. Even the outfits, her outfit is the most ridiculous. She's wearing a dress, but it's still functional. It has armor, like it's cut out in the front, so she's not tripping over it. I mean, she's wearing heels, so that's kind of dumb, but
the big glass eyeballs, you put a contact in, you're like,
yeah, it seems like it's a weakness. Yeah, they're not going that route, and I really like the way that this looks. It's they've toned down the anime a little bit, but it's still obviously anime.
Yeah,
invoked.
So we'll see if we get some more characters confirmed, right? And see if they are consistent about that.
The next character will be like a 5-year-old, and he's like the greatest sage in the land. Yeah.
And have big giant eyes with like huge glasses as well.
Yeah. All right. Any other thoughts with Tales of Arise, though? I mean, we're excited to play it. We just need some more information.
Yeah, I'm thinking it's going to come out during the summer.
Yeah.
So you don't think
I think for one specific reason, I think it's at the point you could probably release it probably April, May. But I think it'll come June and July. Specifically because I think they might take this opportunity and offer a PS5 enhanced version. Like still sell it on PS4, but offer a PS5 version also.
That is interesting because it was originally, they announced the game in 2019 summer and said it's coming out 2020. So that was a really... They must have been very close at that point for it to be done. And then the pandemic happened in 2020 and they just pushed it to 2021. And so, there was a lot of things that could have attributed to that, but I would imagine they would have been pretty far along in 2020. So Eric, I think you might be right that they're just going to wait till the summer and maybe they're just, okay, we have this extra time. Let's try to get that PS5 and Xbox Series X version ready. The next one we have is Monster Hunter Rise. This is coming out on March 26th. It's going to be a Switch exclusive. So prior to the Monster Hunter World phenomenon of just being a smash hit with 17 million games sold, in the West, 6 out of the 8 Monster Hunter games that we got have been exclusive to portable systems, with the exception of the original on the PlayStation 2 and Monster Hunter 3 on the Wii, and there was an expanded version that came out in the Wii U. So a lot of people have only really experienced this franchise on a portable system until Monster Hunter World, which obviously greatly expanded their user base.
Yeah, call it to my brothers who had to use a PSP and to rotate the camera, you had to use a claw hand to rotate with the D-pad while using the analog.
That's how I think of when I think of Monster Hunter. I think of playing it on PSP. I still haven't gotten sunk into like this is now a like top tier console game and PC game. It's crazy.
Hmm.
But
Mhm.
there is a free Monster Hunter Rise demo. So this is a Switch game, and there's a demo right now that you can play all the way up till February 1st. The demo itself, though, there was a lot of buzz with the demo. Very, very popular. And it got a lot of positive comments about how stunning the game looks for the Switch. And this is
Yeah.
largely attributed to Capcom using the Resident Evil engine on the Switch, which people did not think was possible. But the game looks so good that there was a rumor in September that this game was going to be a Switch Pro release because people thought there's no way this game is running on the Switch. And more surprisingly, the game in single player mode actually runs pretty good. You'd think like it would be a train wreck. It apparently runs really smooth. The only issue that we had was with online multiplayer. It was very stuttery, had a lot of lag for users, apparently with a high number of friends on their friends list. I guess this game's anti-friend. I don't
It's a very odd error to have. Yeah.
I'm trying to imagine how that happened, but Capcom confirmed they were going to fix it on release, or it would be fixed before launch day. So you shouldn't have to worry about that. So that's pretty cool. The previous game, Monster Hunter World, it was on console, PC, and like I said before, it was a smash hit. So what do you guys think about Capcom returning this franchise to the portable system market with the Switch? I know the Switch is also a console, but a lot of the appeal is playing it portably. So what do you think about them returning to that after having such success on a console and on PC with all the high-end gaming fans and everything like that? Do you think this is a wise move for their next game to go back to the portable system?
It's a weird decision, like kind of going back to the status quo Monster Hunter games. Um, since like World just did such a incredible job just like changing and evolving the game. Now, granted, Rise looks very unique and awesome in its own right. It's using this grappling hook type system
Yeah.
that lets you
The wire
which I
bug.
imagine it's going to let you project on high scale monsters and mountainsides and everything to take advantage of the
Yeah, you can even tame monsters and then like ride them around into combat, which looked really, really cool.
yeah, and it looks like an absolutely solid game. It looks like it doesn't look like they just took a previous Monster Hunter and used the same assets and made a new game, which a lot of them feel like to me. Like this one, Rise still feels like a unique title with its own assets and everything like that, and unique monsters to kill.
Right.
Similar to World, where World kind of just started from scratch. I feel like Rise did the same thing. It kind of makes me wonder though if they should have just tried to get Monster Hunter World to work on the Switch and then offer the Rise as like an expansion pack to World. Like just have it be like a whole unique experience in itself to join that. Now, there's definitely an argument against that because I guess it's just an answer to people who really want a handheld Monster Hunter experience. But I was always thinking that they would eventually just put World on Switch, but I guess I was wrong about that. But on the game's own merits, it everything looks solid. It looks like a really good time, especially if you get friends together and fight down monsters.
To return to the portable system, I did think, I agree with you, was a little weird, especially because action games, action RPGs, you think you would want, the higher end consoles. I would expect them to have announced a PS5 Monster Hunter game where they're like, 60 frames per second, it's perfect. You really want to excel in combat. You need that 60 FPS, but instead they're going to the Switch and getting the 30 FPS at 720p. But I think it's interesting because there is so much nostalgia with this series as a portable system that it almost feels kind of at home, I think, for a lot of people. to play it like that because that's how they grew up playing the game. And so I think like it's kind of a smart move. Hey, why not abandon that market? And then we all know it's going to sell like crazy on the Switch too. The Switch is very popular. So it's kind of like an interesting dynamic where it's not going to play as well as Monster Hunter World probably, you know, especially on PC, and that's where it would excel, but that's where people are used to playing them.
I guess you have to look at a worldwide view also. I'm sure like Japan has a high demand for portable Monster Hunter games compared to the West.
Sure.
Like I think a lot of people in the West enjoyed the fact it was on the PS4 or PC, but like a lot of Japanese players probably prefer Monster Hunter on handheld. So I guess they're not abandoning consoles by any means because World was just too successful to not do some kind of continuation. But I think they want to offer like a parallel alternative for like people who still enjoy the handhelds versions of it. So I think in a way, now that I think about it, it might be a good thing to like parallel between like a portable experience Monster Hunter and a full on big graphical like console PC version Monster Hunter. So there's like a best of both worlds for both audience.
Yeah, I think it was a very good business decision to put this game on the Switch rather than like try and get a new Monster Hunter out for the next gen consoles like quicker, because the Switch sold like really well, especially last year because of the pandemic, you know, and like a lot of people went out and bought a Switch. So now there's a lot of users. Like there's a huge install base on that console that unless they have a PS4 or a PC, they don't have a Monster Hunter game to play, you know? So I think this game is going to do like really well. I think a lot of people are going to get this game.
Yeah, because like I'm sure for a lot of people, Monster Hunter was the game that they played on the train or on road trips or, you know, whatever, that type of thing. And so having that absence probably felt weird for a lot of people. So I agree. I think it's really cool. I guess you could make the argument because we have the other Monster Hunter game coming out this year, but it's a bit different of a style of a game.
Yeah, it's not the same
it's
thing.
More of a Pokemon type thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I plan on picking the game up. I think it looks amazing. I'm a big fan of developers trying to push the limits of hardware. And I think that they've done that here. And from what I've seen with the demo, it's very solid. Like it's been well executed. It's not a train wreck. So I think I'm going to pick it up. March 26th, I believe, was the release date, right? March 26th. Yeah. So yeah, I'm pretty much I'm a definite yes. There's a small possibility there's another game that we're going to talk about that's coming out in March that might take up a lot of my time, but I'm still definitely going to pick this up.
I think if like friends are playing it, maybe, but I'm sure it's gonna be a good game, but I feel like I won't have enough time to dedicate to it to get really far.
You can play it on the train, Eric.
What train?
That's the spirit.
Oh, you mean the car that I drive every day? Yeah, but yeah, it's like one of those titles I feel like I'm gonna have more fun with my friends than by myself. So,
well, Stan, you're a big Monster Hunter World fan. Where do you sit with this?
I am. I kind of got my fill with Monster Hunter World. Like I played that game a ton when it came out, and I really enjoyed it. If this is more of the same, that's cool. I don't know if I need to get it right away, like for brand new. It is dependent on if people I know play it, you know, like jump in right away and then want to play multiplayer. Because for the most part, Monster Hunter, that's what I play it for, is the multiplayer with other people. I don't play it very much as a single player experience.
Okay. So the ways they've tried to take the game and change the formula up a little bit. From what I understand, people are still saying it's a core Monster Hunter experience, but you have the wire bug mechanic, which is kind of cool. Like we've already talked about, where you can, you know, shoot it out and like it can transport you across the sky into high reaching areas. And then also the taming of monsters and riding the monsters, and there's specific ways to tame them and ride them and stuff like that. Those new elements, does that make it appeal to you more? Because you were saying that, oh, if it's going to be the same thing, I've already gotten my fill, but those things seem like it's a different take on that formula, or is that not enough?
I mean, I think those will enhance the exploration. And that is one thing about Monster Hunter World that I could say, while it has good sized maps, when you replay the missions over and over again to get the, to like you're grinding for a certain material on a certain monster, you've memorized the map at that point, and that can make them feel very small. So if they can make the maps larger, though I don't know how well they can do that on the Switch while also like pushing the graphics as much as they have for that console. So yeah, it's kind of like a little like a wait and see type of thing for me. Like I'm probably going to wait for reviews and see like, is this like Monster Hunter World like on the Switch like just as good, or is it truly like, has it like truly are you playing the game in a different way? Like, do these new options add enough depth to the game so that it feels like you're playing a completely different game, a different Monster Hunter game? That is, I guess I could just try the demo, which I haven't tried.
Yeah,
I haven't tried it yet. I could do that and probably get a good idea of this, but I think I'll probably wait for the reviews. Another thing is that if I'm going to pick up Bravely Default 2, that comes on the 26th of February. And with my work schedule, I don't know if I'll be able to finish that by the time Monster Hunter World comes out.
Right. That's a good point. That's a really
I already got 2-3 games I'm going to be playing in February.
Here's the thing, though.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. I think it's really important to play certain games at launch, because when you play them later, it doesn't have quite the same impact. And I think with the Switch 2, which has not been confirmed, but we all know is coming, the Switch Pro, and you know, we have the next generation here with the PS5 and the Series X. I look at Monster Hunter Rise and I think this is the type of game 3 years from now I'm going to look back and be like, it doesn't look that good, or it doesn't look as good as I thought, right? And when I look at the game and, you know, gameplay videos, I'm looking at the reflections in the water and just, you know, all the just how good the trees and the grass and just the lighting coming through and hitting, you know, and hitting the environment. It looks so good. And so I just want to kind of experience it now while it's relevant, as opposed to going back when it seems dated and play it then, you know? So that's kind of where I'm coming from.
That's a good point. Yeah. I could see that.
We have Persona 5 Strikers. So this is actually a sequel to Persona 5. This is literally, Atlas has said, no, this is a direct sequel to Persona 5. It's a canon storyline to Persona 5. So we all know it was very, very popular, but this is coming to the PS4, Switch, and Steam. And it's a Musou-style action RPG similar to Dynasty Warriors. And it's going to continue 6 months after Persona 5. So that's pretty cool. If you don't know what a Musou-style action RPG is, like we said before, people that make Dynasty Warriors, it's kind of, if you ever played a Dynasty Warriors game, that's the type of style of game. It'll be obviously not in the same setting. It's going to be in a Persona 5 world.
Yeah, it's basically a 1 versus thousands type of game, but the kick is like you're super powerful, taking down these giant armies, and you're using flashy moves to do that. And yeah, that's just essentially what a Musou is at the end of the day.
Yeah. There's been other franchises that have done this recently, like Hyrule Warriors, and also I believe there's a Fire Emblem Warriors game as well.
Yeah,
correct. And Dragon Quest.
And Dragon Quest Warriors too. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so they're like
very trendy.
This is the Persona 5 version of that style. Yeah.
So So this is being developed by Omega Force and the Persona team. So Omega Force created the Dynasty Warrior games and Hyrule Warriors, those warrior type games. A lot of people have been under the impression that the Persona team is not involved with this, but they are involved. They are in cahoots in making this game. So from the Japanese reception that we've gotten, because the game is already out in Japan, it's been out since February of 2020. Famitsu gave it a 36 out of 40. A preview from pushsquare.com called the game a streamlined Persona type game with no free time in between the main quest events. This makes Persona 5 Strikers a more linear but faster paced experience to Persona 5. So seems like fairly good reviews, a different take on the series. Yeah, one interesting fact with this, Persona 5 Strikers was delayed in the West.
Not officially, because they only announced it just recently, but it wasn't officially delayed, but now we know the reason, right? That it took so long to come out. Yeah.
Right. And that reason was essentially the pandemic. It was causing a lot of issues with them translating, even though it came out in Japan before the pandemic. They're trying to get it in English over here was taking longer than they anticipated because they had to ship the voice actors microphones and they were going to record in their house. It was this kind of this weird thing they were describing where they thought, oh, it's only going to be 2 weeks of quarantine, and turned into a month. And then at some point they're like, okay, we're just going to mail you guys microphones. And then they're sitting there trying to record dialogue. But one guy's recording in his kitchen where it's very echoey. Another person's recording in their closet with a sheet over their head. And these characters are supposed to be in the same environment on screen, and it doesn't sound the same. So there was a lot of troubleshooting. Okay, let's get everyone in a similar environment. Do you have a rug under you? That type of thing. And then, not having someone there instructing them on how to do the lines. There's a lot of going back and forth, and it just took a long time apparently to do all that. So that's why it's been delayed, but it's coming out now in the West, February 23rd, 2021. So that's pretty cool. So first off, what do you guys think about the Persona series getting its own Muso style game? I mean, it's kind of the trendy thing to do right now.
I think it fits mostly well with Persona 5. Just for like a reason enough alone that each character is very unique and that they can bring their own special moves to the table for each character you pick in the game. Like there's even one that uses a motorcycle. There's one that just straight out uses like a bat gangster style. There's a lot to pick from for these type of characters, and it also gives an opportunity to see like the Shin Megami Tensei like enemies in a Muso type fashion instead of RPG for once. And some people might be hesitant about it, but I would urge them to go look at games like Dragon Quest Heroes and like the Hyrule Warriors series. What these companies have been doing a really good job of is they've been very fan servicey in a good way. Like they understand this is a game that for fans, and they make sure that they deliver on all the aspects that you love about Persona 5 in particular. Like Dragon Quest, they still found ways to give you that traditional RPG feel or going out to a world and adventurous type of deal. And Zelda, they give you the Breath of the Wild in particular, they still give you all the things in there that you like from Breath of the Wild while playing it. So this is kind of like the same deal that they're offering a lot of Persona-like elements in a Muso game.
Yeah, I'm in the middle. I agree with you that it can be a fun way to experience something that you already enjoy. And part of me thinks, okay, well, it would take a really long time to make another Persona game. Maybe with this other company helping, it takes a lot of pressure off them to get another game out, and they can use those other people to work on the next Persona game. And so logistically, it makes a lot of sense. But at the same time, Persona 5 has been such a big hit for them in the Persona series. And they just made Persona 5 Royal, which apparently is its own brand new game. You know, they put so much extra stuff in it. It was so much work. Then why don't you just create a Persona 5 sequel, like an actual Persona 5 sequel? You know, I guess I'm in the middle on it because I think in many ways, like I said before, this will get the game out quicker. This will get the you know, a sequel out for those that want it quicker. It can be made in a quicker fashion. So I guess that's the reasoning, but
I think it's similar to what's going on with Zelda. They're making Breath of the Wild 2, and they wanted a Zelda-like game to hold people over till like the actual like sequel to Breath of the Wild comes out. So, you know, they're probably hard at work at Persona 6, and they probably just kind of want to milk a franchise as much as they can. Like Persona 4 itself got a fighting game series, and they got a dancing game series.
Yeah.
So, you know, I think this just may be Persona 5's
yeah, but were
way
those games canon?
up.
Was the dancing series canon?
I don't think so. I think this is the first time where they've made a different style game and then also said it's a, like, in terms of story, it's an actual sequel.
Yeah,
So-
like because they take
I
place
think that's the weird
after
part.
It is odd.
games.
Yeah.
But there is no Persona 4 2. There's no sequel to Persona 4, like in particular. So, I mean, you can make it canon if you want, the dancing game and the fighting game.
What's the plot line for the dancing game that they all have to compete in this tournament? That's the official sequel. They all
I
obsessed with
don't
dancing.
know the story exactly, but the whole premise is that you're going into a TV world, and this
Just
may
like
be
Persona
another
4.
major castle that they have to go to, and dancing might be the way to, you know, defeat this particular castle. If I had to guess what the
Is
story is,
Patrick Swayze the first boss?
I hope so.
Anyways, what do you guys think? Since this game's coming out, this is an official sequel. This is canon story, right? And it's coming to Switch. So we're getting closer and closer to an actual mainline Persona game coming to the Switch, right? Since this is a sequel, canon sequel to Persona 5, not some
You would
side
think
game.
so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what do you guys think? Persona 6, Persona Golden, Switch announcement soon.
Well,
Persona 5, possibly.
we do have a game we're going to talk about later, SMT5, which is an Atlas game.
That's true.
That is exclusive to the Switch, actually.
Yeah.
So I don't see any reason why, unless we've speculated before, unless there's some kind of deal with Sony, why the Persona franchise, it seems to be exclusive to their systems. But like, this is a sequel, supposedly, like you said, and it's coming to Switch and PC. Yet Persona 5, which is the beginning of the story, right, and the biggest chunk of the story, I'm guessing, is still not on the Switch or the PC.
Yeah, so a lot of people are going to pick this up and not know the original story. Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
I didn't even think of that.
So
At the same time, they put like the spin-off games like Persona Q on 3DS.
Yeah,
Like,
but that's not
and
the same.
like these are games that like you can't get on the 3DS. Like the one that the characters are based off of, or any Nintendo console for that matter.
True, yeah.
That's a good
So
point. Yeah.
it's like, do they like?
I guess
like,
it's
what's
weird
their
then
logic?
too.
They got like Kingdom Hearts logic in releasing console on Switch console.
Let's put
But
it
really,
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
everything's canon. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
Atlas is large overdue on putting Persona 4 and 5 on the Switch.
I really want to see the contract. If I'm pretty sure there has to be a contract because it's the weirdest thing. Because the series seems like it would be perfect on the Nintendo console, has not really come over except these side games. And then recently, now we just got Persona 4 Golden on PC. That seems like the perfect game that would come to Switch.
Yeah.
But now we're getting an official sequel to Persona 5 on the Switch. And is the contract stipulate that, if it's turn-based combat, it can't come over? Like, I don't, It's weird.
I guess spin-off series I guess are fine if that's true. And
But
like
it's a direct sequel.
anytime you make a mainline Persona, it has to be on a Sony console because all
They're
the
really
original
sparsing the word main line if it's a direct sequel. I guess it's not a main line because 13.2 is not a mainline game. I guess that's fair.
Yeah, it is.
I don't
It
know.
is
I'm just
odd.
speculating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of these days we'll find out. One of these days. But are you guys planning on picking this up? I'm not picking this up.
I haven't even beaten the original Persona 5.
Yeah, I haven't played Persona 5, so
Well,
please don't shame me in the comments. But
I will say, if I ever finish Persona 5, I would likely be tempted to pick it up afterwards.
Yeah,
Just to continue the story.
If you look at the video of the Japanese version, there's videos all over the place. It's like got the same great UI that Persona 5 has, that same polish that Persona 5 has, because the Persona team's working on it. And so it seems like it would have a lot of the similar sensibilities to the game. So I was thinking that maybe it might be even easier for me to get into because there's probably less Persona elements in this Persona 5 Strikers game.
Yeah, that is one thing that like you either love it or you don't care for it, right? Is the like daily events for Persona games that happen kind of between the main story. They give you free time or free days that you have to like build your relationships and your stats. From that preview and that Push Square wrote, it sounds like that's kind of not there. So maybe this is a Persona game that you can finish in 30 to 40 hours instead of over 100.
Right.
You know, for that reason. So that's interesting. You know, that I'm sure some people are disappointed that that's not there. You know, but there's always Persona 5. So
if you're completionist, I'm pretty sure I'll probably over 100 hours to beat because these Muso games that Koei Tecmo releases,
yeah, but it's going to be
are heavily notorious for putting a ton of monotonous side content in their games. So, like, if you play the main campaign, yeah, maybe probably 25 to 40 hours. If you do like all the side content, like they had a big adventure board for Hyrule Warriors, the first one, and then the Breath of the Wild Age of Calamity one had just so many ridiculous amount of side quests. I haven't even finished them yet, and they throw a lot at you.
Yeah, I can see like the game loop can be really easy for them to just pad it out and make it 1,000 hours if they want to.
They could do that.
Yeah, you guys, I was sitting there thinking maybe I'll wait for the Royal Edition. I can see the extra strikers. Yeah.
I mean, Hyrule Warriors, they get definitive editions. So there you go.
Yeah. Next game. Moving right along. Mass Effect Legendary Edition. I do agree. This is very legendary. I've been waiting for this for a very long time. So we don't have an official release date, but all signs are pointing to a Q1 or Q2 2021 announcement. Specifically, there's some very promising leaks that say March of this year, but it's going to be a remaster. It's been announced. There's a trailer for it. It was announced, I believe, at the Game Awards. Very crappy trailer. It kind of zoomed through the universe and showed familiar characters' faces. Not as exciting as I would want, but it's been officially announced. So it's going to be all 3 games from the first Mass Effect games, obviously 1, 2, and 3, and all the DLC content in one collection. And we don't really have further details as to what kind of enhancements we're going to get with this, if anything, whether it's going to be like a straight port or, or how much of a visual upgrade are we talking about here. But I was looking at some different Reddit threads and different places on Steam where people are talking about this. And the things that fans are wanting are 60 FPS gameplay, 4K textures, reworked battle mechanics for Mass Effect 1, and a new ending for Mass Effect 3. And these people actually think this Legendary Edition is going to have all this stuff in there. So we'll have to see. But BioWare's boss, Casey Hudson, said, our goal was not to remake or reimagine the original games, but to modernize the experience so that fans and new players can experience the original work in its best possible form. So we'll have to see what is actually in there, but there's been no official release date yet. Like I said, there is a leak from a couple different places. GameSpot's reported on it. Eurogamer's reported on it, that there's going to be a release date of March 12th. We've seen lots of places reporting March 12th. So it seems very likely that's going to be the date. We've also seen merchandise popping online that's got a release date at the end of February, stuff that would be like toys and stuff associated with the game's launch. So it seems likely that it's coming soon. So Mass Effect games, some of the most highest rated games out there in terms of Western RPGs. But what are you guys thinking about some of the fan expectation here with this remaster? I mean, if you're getting all 3 games as a part of one collection and it costs, I assume, $60, I mean, do you think it's going to be received well if it doesn't have all these things that people want and it's just a typical remaster?
Well, first off, they're absolutely right that Mass Effect 1 needs a rehaul in some aspects. Not its story, obviously, but if you play it today, it's very rough to play compared to the second, third game, which admittedly still hold up pretty well as games. But man, the first one, I think they need to just do some rework to make it feel more like the second and third game.
Right.
I think if they do that, I think they can just pretty much, of course, modernize it. 60 frames. I think those are. I think those should be mandatory for these to be considered good remasters. I mean, you got to justify people purchasing the game again. I mean, it hasn't been that long since these games came out.
Well, it's been like 13 years, right?
So if it's like a legendary edition, like, you kind of want to do something that may like compete with it, like the Halo Master Chief Collection, at least, where they offer a lot of options on how to play it. I don't think they're going to add a whole new ending to Mass Effect 3. I think people just need to accept what that is, and either love it or hate it.
So I'm thinking of Final Fantasy 12, where they reworked the battle system, called it the Zodiac version, right? And they sold that for $50. I went on Steam to try to see how much it would cost to buy all 3 Mass Effect games in their deluxe form, which is where you get it with all the DLC. And on Steam right now, it costs $30 a piece to buy each game with all the DLC. So if you want all 3 games with everything, it's $90, assuming you're not getting some kind of winter sale or something like that on Steam anyways. I'm sure you could pick up the physical versions cheaper somewhere. But on Steam, $90 to get them all 3 right now. So to think that we don't have a price confirmed, but assuming it's $60 to get 3 of some of the highest rated games of all time, I don't think they're going to like rework the battle system. I think if they did do that, and it needs to do that for Mass Effect 1, I think that would be $50 in of itself. And but for $60, they're just going to upscale it, and it's going to be better. It's not, the load screens are not going to be long. In Mass Effect 1, when you're running around large maps, the screen will like stutter because it has to load, right? It's probably not going to do that anymore. And I think that's all it's going to be. I mean, I think that if they were doing all this new ending and all that other crap and it's coming out in 2 months, they would have been promoting it,
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think I'll give them the benefit of the doubt and say they're not going to do the bare minimum, but they're not going to go out of the way that some people want. And I'm sure EA is going to do something that's going to be controversial with it on top of it. I don't know, like maybe offer like the actual features people want as DLC
or
whatnot.
I was thinking, what if they took the Mass Effect Andromeda facial AI, right? That was such a big problem with Mass Effect Andromeda, and they thought, oh, this is newer, and it's going to speed up the remaster process and make it better because it's newer. So we're just going to implement that through all 3 games. And I could see them doing something like that where it would just make me not want to buy it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but basically, if they just enhance it to 60 frames per second, increase the resolution, rework some of Mass Effect 1's battle system to make it feel more consistent with 2 and 3, and they charge $60 for the whole collection.
Dude, that would, if they do all that, that would be ridiculous. For $60, there's no way.
It would be ridiculous, but it would be absolutely amazing. And
It would be legendary, that's for sure.
Yeah, they want to call it Legendary Edition. They better,
Yeah, but when one game, these days, one game gets remastered, The Last of Us, it gets remastered at launch. It's like $40, right?
Yeah.
And they're going to sell you all three together. I'm not expecting anything except it's going to look a bit better. And because it's on better hardware, it's going to run better. That's all I'm expecting. I would be shocked if they add anything. And I think that's the best way to go into it too. That's all I expect. And I would be happy to pay $60 for that version, especially if I can play it on my Switch. That'd be fantastic. It'd be tremendous.
True. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The people asking for 60 FPS and 4K textures, I mean,
yeah, that's not going to happen.
At best, like they could do one of those, like on the current consoles, like on the PS4 or on the Switch, right? They might be, those consoles don't output in 4K, right? So there's no reason they would put 4K textures into the game. So like they might do 60 FPS, might target that.
Right.
But even then, that might be difficult for something like the Switch to handle.
If they did 4K textures, I have a feeling they would keep it at 30 frames per second.
Yeah, like they can't do both.
Yeah, I mean, you would need like a top of the line PC.
Yeah.
It'd be like a $3,500 gaming PC to run Mass Effect 1.
Yeah, and if they expect the majority of the sales for the game will come from the consoles that can't even optimize the game to that degree, then there's no reason they'd go to that effort.
Yeah.
To try and do that. So,
dude, I just want it.
At least that's what I think.
I just want it on Switch. So I'll take the 30 frames per second. I just want to play it like in bed at night. That's all I want.
Yeah. They put Mass Effect 3 on the Wii U, so I don't see why not.
Well, I don't know. Maybe they'll put a bunch of anime shrubbery in it or something.
There you go.
Put it on the Switch.
How to make it better? Add anime.
Give it the Xenoblade treatment. Anyways, if the game's coming out in March, though, why don't you think they've said anything? Because it seems pretty obvious the game is coming out in March because we have places like GameSpot talking about it and Eurogamer,
That's a good question. I'm not sure. Just that one announcement trailer at the Game Awards, that doesn't seem like enough marketing to really make people aware if it's coming out in a month or two.
This is why I think it's just going to be a straight port. I think that they're going to announce it and not put a lot of hype behind it and just let it be,
I wouldn't put it above EA.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Yeah. So I'm definitely going to pick this up, assuming they have a physical version, just because I want it in a collection. I want to be able to play the game in not a console in particular. So I'm going to pick it up for sure, depending on reviews, of course, and make sure they're not going to stick some kind of jackassery in it.
Yeah, it's with certain companies, and EA is one of them. I always wait for the reviews and to see what the audience is also saying. Don't just take the journalists' words for it who have gotten like an early preview copy, but also people who've actually put down their $60. How satisfied are they?
Right.
Yeah,
exactly. Eric, you picking this thing up?
Probably not. I think down the line, if it's good, and I have an itching to play Mass Effect again, I'll definitely play this version of it, assuming there's nothing majorly wrong with it.
What if they do all the things that you want, right? Like they said that like they redid the Mass Effect system to make it more like 2 and 3. They 1080p, 60 FPS. Still not getting you day one, huh?
Man, I got a child coming later this year. It's not. I'm not buying every game that comes out this year. Sorry, Mass Effect. I'm not prioritizing you.
It's legendary.
Yeah.
All right. Fair enough.
Literally not getting my wallet.
That was
Thank
a
you,
good
folks. I'll be here all night.
Planned. All right. All right. So our next game, Yeast 9 Monstrum Nox. Hopefully I said that right. Release date is February 2nd, 2021. It's already released in Japan on September 9th, 2019. Otherwise, that would have been really a callback. So it's coming out on PS4, Switch, and PC later in 2021. And I'm going to let Stan and Eric talk about Yeast 9 because I've never played any of the games. I understand you all just played Yeast 8. You guys are looking forward to Yeast 9. So if you guys want to just kind of fill people in about what to expect with this game and what you're looking forward to and that type of thing.
I'll let Stan take over, but the one thing I'm going to say is I just very recently have gotten to the Yeast series. And I've started with 8. I pretty much have fallen in love with the game. So, yes, news people, I like a Falcom game again.
We got him.
Trails, I still don't like. But
That's
but
the next
come
step.
around.
But Yeast definitely won me over. I love the exploration and action combat that the game delivers. It's got that nice adventurous feeling, and I like the lightheartedness of the characters and such. So it definitely grabbed me in. I already bought the first 2 Yeast games that I'm going to play, and I already pre-ordered the 9th one. So I've very well gotten into it now, and I plan to this year to try to go through all of them. In some form, whether it's a remake version or the original version, whatever is the best version to play. So, yeah, I'm definitely getting into that. So I'll let you guys know what I think in the future with these games. But 9's on my list also. But Stan still has more knowledge than me by far on this. So
Yeah, I haven't I don't have expansive knowledge of the series, but I started with the Vita game, Memories of Celceta, which I believe is kind of like a remake or of Ys 4, the 4th game in the series. However, chronologically, if you're like trying to follow the story, it doesn't go in order like by the name. Like for some reason, Ys 8 in the story happens before Ys 7. I don't know why. They just number them that way. But I've technically played a version of the 4th one, and then I played Dawn of Ys, which is like a prequel to the whole series. And then I just recently played 8, which in my opinion is like a really good game. Like I really enjoyed that. I played it at the end of last year, got it on a sale, and if it's still on sale, I would recommend checking that out and getting that game.
I got it on sale too, but I think it expired.
Oh,
it was like $23 when I got it.
Okay.
On Switch.
The Ys games are like Final Fantasy, right? You don't have to have played, and it's the opposite of the Trails games, right? You do not need to have played the other ones to kind of understand what's going on. The protagonist Adol is like on a new adventure. That's like the premise of every Ys game. And he's also like silent protagonist with like certain lines voiced, kind of like a Persona protagonist. So you're not missing a lot if you just make 8 your first one, or if you want to jump in with the new Ys 9 coming out and make that your first Ys game. Like you can do that pretty easily.
So with the 9th one, I mean, we got a little bit of a synopsis here. I'm gonna try to read this as a non-Ys fan, and I want to see how badly I goofed this up. So, but you've kind of filled me in, Stan, that it's pronounced Adol.
Adol, yeah.
Adol. So he's going to be traveling to the Ramun Empire.
Roman,
but with a
yeah,
U.
It's
Okay.
just spelled differently.
I didn't know if that was supposed to be Romulan or.
8.
What's that?
It's interesting because that's been hinted in 8. I don't know if you've ever been to that Empire in previous games, but
No, so this is the first time, which I think is a lot of vets, right? Like veteran fans of the East series are excited about that because it's kind of like the antagonist nation, like the Roman Empire of the series. So you fight enemies from that empire, but you've never visited there. So this is the first time that Adol is making his way there. Yeah.
So that sounds cool. So
Yeah.
there's a demo apparently out on the PS4 right now that you can play.
There is. Yep.
So that's pretty cool. Might have to check it out. You guys been just pushing this series tonight, so
It's good.
yeah. So this game's also being localized by NIS America, which is also localized Ys 8, Ys 7's original localization. I guess we have it written here that was criticized due to grammar
8.
issues. Ys 8.
Yeah, 8 was it when it first came out, it was subpar, I guess you could say. Even like there was just grammatical issues like in the sentence structure, and they got so much pushback on it that they redid the entire translation again and pushed it through as a patch. I never played that. I just played it recently, so I haven't played that.
Apparently they re-recorded the dialogue too.
They did. Yeah.
That's very impressive. That's a lot of work.
Yeah.
It's a lot of work.
Mm-hmm.
So I've yet to check out any of these in these series. I know that BioPhoenix, who's been on our podcast a few times, he's a big fan of the Yeast series and he likes to talk about them a lot. And he's been kind of lightly jabbing that we should try one. So I might have to try one out in the future. So
Yeah.
if you tried the old ones, they're certainly interesting because you don't actually swipe at enemies or anything. You do what's called a bump system, and you have to bump into like an enemy's shoulder to get an efficient strike.
I don't think I'm gonna like that.
It's very 1987, I will say.
Yeah,
I don't like that.
It works out pretty well.
Yeah, I might have to try it from a historical context. Just okay, this is what it used to be like.
Game isn't really hard either so far from what I played. Ys 1.
Cool.
So,
have any of you checked out the demo yet for Ys 9?
No,
I haven't. I've been too busy, unfortunately.
Yeah,
I'm trying to get through 8 right now. Try to beat it before 9.
Gotcha. Okay, well, it's coming out again on February 2nd. Jesus Christ, Ys 9.
Week.
Yeah, this first 3 months is getting pretty packed, huh?
Yeah, a lot of good games coming out. Speaking of good games, coming up, we have Cris Tales. Finally, it was delayed, but it's now coming out in early 2021. Pretty sure in the next month or two, I think, from what I was seeing online, but we'll have to see. But it was delayed from November 2020, so we're pretty confident that it's going to be coming out shortly. And it's going to be coming on PS4, PS5, Switch, Xbox Series S and X, basically everything, Stadia, everything. So the standard dish pricing is going to be around $40, $30 to $40. And this game looks awesome. It's got hand-drawn graphics, hand-drawn animations, obviously, and it's just got that kind of a retro feel. A lot of people are saying inspired by JRPGs like Chrono Trigger, Final Fantasy, that whole thing. But it's just got a different vibe about it, I think, because of the presentation with the graphics and how it is hand-drawn. But one unique aspect to it that has made it unique from some of these other spiritual successors is that it has a time mechanic. And in the time mechanic, it's used through every aspect of the game, side quests, battle systems, but basically it lets you go back in time or forward in time or to see events at different time periods. And the way that it's implemented in the battle system, which is, I think, the most unique, is that you can send enemies back in time or forward in time, and it will change the enemy that you're battling. So they give examples like the character set this knight on fire, right? And he's being hit with the burnt effect, like burnt damage. And then she sent him into the future. and in the future he already has all the burnt damage, so it was all collected at once, right? And you can do that with poison and stuff like that. Or you can turn like a dragon back in time, and then it's just an egg, so it's not as dangerous. But they said you don't know without experimenting that you might, send it forward in time or back in time, and it makes it more difficult. Like if you took that egg and put it into the future, it would turn into a dragon, which would be way worse, right, than just an egg. So there's that dynamic, and then there's also implemented into side quests where, you can see characters before they were, how they are now or later, and you can see where they dropped items, that type of thing, and you can help them out in that way. And yeah, it seems like one of our initial questions with this game was, this time mechanic sounds cool. How are they implementing it into the game? Is there going to be any kind of merging with that mechanic with the story, with the gameplay and the story? And it seems like it's all intertwined in one. So it seems pretty cool. I think I'm really excited about this game.
Yeah, it seems like there's a lot of puzzle solving to it also. Like,
Yeah.
you go up to a gate and it's like, oh no, I can't get past the gate. But what if I go to the past before the gate was built? Or what if I go to the future after the gate's deteriorated enough I can knock it down, go through, and go back to the present?
Yeah, that's just really cool. But they were talking about how the scope of that is what caused the delay. I mean, there's a demo out you can go play, so it's not like it's not a playable state. But they said the scope of that were Jesus Christ, Eric's getting
I'm getting bombarded by my cat.
By a cat.
Back down you go. I told him no like 5 times. He's like, no, I'm going to do it anyways.
Where was I? But the scope, though, they said that some areas of the map they had to do 30 different times. These are hand-drawn maps, right? So they had to draw that 30 different times to account for all these different circumstances on decisions you made. Because every area at least has to be 3 times, past, present, future. So it's pretty crazy, the scope of the game in that regard, how much work that must have taken.
It's very ambitious, especially on the indie level.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm totally all for it. I like these like goofy style time traveling games, as long as they don't take it too seriously, and try to not to put too much logic into it, like like freaking like FF13-2 or whatnot. Just have fun with it, like Back to the Future or Chrono Trigger, and I think it can be set up for like a really awesome adventure.
Yeah, for sure. Stan, what do you think?
Yeah, the examples you listed where they use it in the gameplay is really cool. Kind of like bring it all together, because it's one thing if it's in the story only, but then you can't do anything with it, right? Like during the gameplay. But it sounds like the quest design and the combat is all taking advantage of the time travel aspect. And I know that the combat also has like a timed hit mechanic where like Super Mario RPG, which we talked about just recently on the channel, where you attack and then you push the button with the correct timing and you get like a second hit or more powerful attack like that, which can make
time event.
It makes turn-based combat just like a little bit more interesting, so that's cool too.
Yeah. I'm just really digging these graphics, guys. I think that's the biggest thing. I find the time mechanic awesome, but like I just like the fact that it's hand drawn, and I'm not crazy about how girly it looks, like with the with the character, but just everything else, like the environment and everything like that, it looks just like, I like that.
Yeah, it's kind of like a I may have mentioned this before when we talked about the game last year, like a Cinderella style, like a early Disney film style of animation. At least that's what it looks like to me. Reminds me of something kind of looks like that.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe I can see what you're talking about, but I think the style just looks very unique in itself enough that like I appreciate it more than anything.
Yeah. So I want a physical edition of this game. I don't know how that's going to work. I still need to figure that out, because I would rather a physical version of this game to have like as, just part of my physical collection, but I just got a notification the other day that Crosscode shipped, and I bought that game like April last year, right? The physical version. And I had to wait this long. I mean, I bought the digital version because I wanted to play it on the Switch, but I don't know if, because this is coming to multiple consoles. So I look at this game as more of an indie release, but it is a bigger release in terms of the studio than I think Crosscode. So I just have to research. If it's going to take 9 months for me to get a physical version, then I'm not going to wait that long. I'll just get digital, but I would highly, highly prefer to own a physical version.
Yeah, I'll probably buy it digital, but it'll probably definitely be a Switch title for me. This game looks like something I would play on the handheld, unless for some reason the console or like the PS4 version is significantly better for some reason.
Yeah, I agree. Pretty much the same. It's a Switch purchase for me. It seems perfect for that.
Yeah, looking forward to it. Can't wait. Just need a specific date. I swear to God, if they try to launch this in the middle of Bravely Default 2, Mass Effect Legendary Edition, Monster Hunter Rise,
yeah,
it's getting crowded. Please take your time. If it needs to be till end of 2021, let it be. This looks like something very special, like maybe potentially Undertale special, hopefully. So I say take the time you need to make it the way you want it to be.
Yeah, I think they are taking their time though, because the demo had kind of a Bravely Default 2 survey type deal with it, where we talked about on the podcast, where they came out and responded to basically what fans wanted with the game or what they criticized with the game. And they got overwhelming positive praise with the demo. But one of the things that people criticized were that some of the characters, their accents, I guess, were off or something like that. And they went back and re-recorded the voice lines because people said that. So that was
that it's inappropriate. Maybe that's how everyone in that world talks.
Well, I think it wasn't consistent. I don't know.
I am Emma.
I can't really comment on it because I could sit there and say, well, it's not that big of a deal, but then I might play it and be like, Jesus Christ, these people are right.
Well, I guess props to them for addressing that criticism. That shows that they're like really taking everybody's feedback into account. So that's good.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so we're coming up on our last game, guys. It's been a long stretch, but we're at the home run. Last but not least, we have Shin Megami Tensei 5. Can't believe I'm saying this, but it's likely coming out in the next 6 months. Yeah. This has been a game that we've been kind of talking about for a long time, but possibly March 2021, based on a Sega finance report from August 2020. This is going to be a Switch exclusive, and the game is receiving a simultaneous worldwide release, as opposed to releasing in Japan first, like we saw with the Persona games and Shin Megami Tensei Nocturne, the remaster. That's already out in Japan. You can go buy it in Japanese if you want. Persona 5 Strikers is out in Japan first, and then it comes to the West. This game, Shin Megami Tensei 5, is getting a worldwide release, so all at once. And it's the first Atlas game to use Unreal Engine 4, which is pretty cool. I don't know about Atlas, but the Shin Megami Tensei universe, I guess, is a more appropriate way to say that. Yeah. And then the game was first announced back in January 2017 with a short teaser trailer. The director stated the game did not hit full-scale development until February 2018. The last official trailer we got was around 6 months ago, and kind of a summary of what's going on with this game. According to the producer, one of the development team's goals with the game is to depict and sympathize with the characteristics of the times, such as unemployment, unease about retirement, really characteristic of now, unease about retirement, terrorism and nuclear weapons, and problems at home. The time for creation has come. This is from the game itself. The time for creation has come. Follow your will and decide the world's fate. The newest entry to the classic RPG series from Atlas, Shin Megami Tensei 5, arrives exclusive on Nintendo Switch 2021. So what do you guys think about this game? I mean, we saw a trailer 3 years ago, then we saw a trailer like 6 or 8 months ago. Wasn't a lot of gameplay footage in the trailer. Wasn't a lot of battle system stuff. You know, the typical stuff you'd expect with a trailer for a game coming out soon. Leak said maybe March 2021, but I mean, if it's 2 months and the game's coming out and Atlas hasn't said much since, you think it might be delayed? Like, what do you think is going on?
Well, two things. One, as someone who has played the first 4 games,
Right.
the main character has a really stupid haircut. Oh my God, someone take some scissors and clip that thing off. I might be an unpopular opinion on that, but seriously, please, for the love of God.
Well, they're just trying to keep with JRPG traditions, right? You gotta have a weird haircut. That's just you gotta check that box.
No, it's like he was in the middle of getting a haircut, and he's like, "Oh, I gotta go. I can't finish my haircut. Sorry."
He's trying to meet with the characteristics of the times.
But second, there is supposedly a big direct that's supposed to come in February. We don't know exactly what it entails. It might be a lot related to Zelda's 35th anniversary, but there's still an open possibility that they may dive more into Shin Megami Tensei 5.
Yep.
And we maybe will get at least a release window.
Mm-hmm.
But I have my doubts it'll come out in March. I feel like we just haven't seen enough of the game. And it coming out pretty much like a month or 2 from now would be very insane. It would be very surprising. That'd be a very welcome surprise if they just did a surprise like it's coming out in 2 months like Paper Mario did last year. But I don't know. That doesn't seem like something Atlas does. That would be a very new thing.
I think it could come out maybe like late April or May or so, with like you said, maybe like a big direct like in March or early April, like kind of giving a lot of information on the game, like a 10-minute, 15-minute demonstration and details about the game. March does seem a little too early because they have Persona 5 Strikers coming out on the Switch on February 23rd, I believe. So if it's going to come out in March, then Atlas would have 2 games coming out back to back, and why would they compete with their own game? So
Shin Megami Tensei 3 HD is coming out in April, I believe, for the West.
So we're going to be getting SMT all over the place.
Yeah.
So it'll be kind of conflicting to release 3 and 5 around the same time. I think if anything, 3 is like a holdover game till like 5 comes out later in 2021.
I just wonder with the fact that, you know, the director said that they didn't even hit full scale development till 2018. Before that, it was only like a few people here and there. It wasn't really a prioritization. And then the fact that they've promised a worldwide release, so it's hitting all the languages at the same time. And then the fact that, you know, there was a pandemic last year. I just wonder if, you know, they might have to walk some of that back a little bit because Persona 5 didn't even get a worldwide release, a simultaneous worldwide release. It was, you know, Dragon Quest 11 didn't, you know, that's a big deal to be able to release it all at once. That's not easy.
Man, that awkward moment when they prioritize a remaster of a spin-off game of Shin Megami Tensei over the main series. That's because how popular Persona is.
I mean, yeah, that is kind of interesting. So I just wonder because I mean we didn't even see a lot of gameplay from that last trailer, which was the first time we had seen it in like 2 or 3 years. There was a tiny bit of what might be gameplay, but we didn't see any kind of user interface. We didn't see a battle system or anything like that, you know?
Yeah. I still think we could get it though, because like it's been such a long time that they've been working on it. Even if they really only started in 2018, well, then that's still quite a bit of time. That's, you know, more than 2 years that they've been working on it.
Yeah.
And another thing is, like it's true that we're still waiting for Persona 5 Strikers and SMT 3 Nocturne Remaster, but Japan already got both of those games, right? They've been released there already, I believe.
Well, and that's I guess that's my point, is that it's easier for them to just release it in one language and then take a year or whatever to put it in the other languages, because even Persona 5 Strikers had issues where they had to mail people microphones in order to get the languages done, right? And they were already planning on this game coming out in 2021, you know, and Persona 5 Strikers was supposed to come out in 2020 and it got delayed till 2021, you know?
Yeah,
so
that's true.
I just wonder if we're going to get a sad announcement soon.
Oh, well, they may have already been on top of those issues due to Persona 5 Strikers, right? And thought, okay, we got to get on top of the localization if we're planning to release it simultaneous with the Japanese. So I guess we'll find out.
I would probably predict that they'll probably try to evolve it more from Shin Megami Tensei 3 as a console-like game, because Shin Megami Tensei 4, they for the most part went back to the basics with like Shin Megami Tensei 1 and 2, and having a lot of it be I don't know what's the right thing to say. A lot of things are done through the interface as opposed to moving around. Like there's some areas you could move around as your character, and the game, but a lot of it was like a point and click type nature, and there was like the dungeons you actually traveled through.
Oh, okay.
I respected. There wasn't really much in terms of exploration beyond like what you point and click to. But I think they'll probably go back to Shin Megami Tensei 3, where like you have like actual big areas to explore and such. That's just a prediction. For all I know, they may go maybe a shinier Shin Megami Tensei 4, but we'll see.
Yeah, guess we'll have to wait and see. I'm kind of in the middle about this game. Whether I was so excited for the news about it, and then once I heard that like it's going to be so, I knew it wasn't going to be like an upbeat game, but my God, it seems so. Just
no! If you want to
beat my mood down, like when I want
the Shin Megami Tensei games, like each game successfully like gives you a sense of like feeling very uncomfortable where you are.
Well, yeah, I'm already in an uncomfortable time, you know, and I'm gonna play this game that's focusing on bringing up feelings of unemployment, unease about retirement, terrorism, and nuclear weapons, and problems at home.
Yeah,
but I don't know. I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure once we hear more information and I start seeing more trailers, I'm gonna get more and more excited. So we'll have to see. Anyways, so I think that's going to wrap us up for today. We do have our RPGFan media partner we want to tell you about. So like I just said, RPGFan.com, they're our media partner. If you're not familiar with them, go check them out. They've been doing RPG news since like the late 90s. They do RPG reviews. They've got other podcasts on there. They have Random Encounter, which does news and discussions twice a month. And me and Eric recorded an episode with them for their Game of the Year 2021. We're in the part 2, so that should be coming out soon. So definitely go check that out. And then Retro Encounter is more of a game club styled RPG podcast. They're currently discussing, I can never pronounce this right, Batten Kaitos, Eternal Wings, and the Lost Ocean. So
that's a neat one.
Yeah. Very, very cool. And then they also have, you can't guess the theme here, Rhythm Encounter. And they're discussing RPG soundtracks and other game music topics. I know one episode they had, which I thought was interesting, was where they kind of delved into the Persona 4 soundtrack, and they kind of talked about some of the villains and stuff and how the soundtrack accents that. And it was kind of interesting. So got some interesting stuff over there. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they also have a YouTube channel. So most recent video review was Torchlight 3 by Greg Delmage. He's actually the host of Random Encounter. So he reviewed Torchlight 3 as well, and he did the voiceover and video work, and he didn't like that game. So if you want to go check out his review of that game, and I mean, he didn't trash it. I think he gave it like a 68 or something like that. But I always enjoy when a review, they didn't appreciate the game, because you can kind of like hear their frustration. But before that, they had Cyberpunk, and there's, all sorts of RPGs on there that you can check out for their video reviews. And then the written reviews has even more. Most recent written review was a visual novel, Autumn's Journey. Kind of cool. But right before that was a written review of Mother 3, which was interesting to review as well. Gave it a 94. So,
wow.
Pretty cool.
That is really good. Yeah.
Yep.
So good, but you can't have it.
Well, there's ways.
Well, there are legally.
Well, yeah, unless you want to learn the language.
There's a whole box of Game Boy Advance localized Mother 3s in Reggie's basement. And he just goes down there and he just pees on it every day. And while holding both his middle fingers up.
And he just kept them even though he doesn't work for Nintendo anymore. They just like, no, you can have them.
This feels like a cyberpunk quest. Like me and Keanu Reeves are going to have to bust into Reggie's mansion and locate these games. So anyways, I think that's going to wrap us up for this week. Next week, we will be back with another episode. We are going to do our new format next week. For one episode a month, we're going to be answering viewer questions. So I think we already have those selected. There might be time to get some more, and I don't know. We'll figure it out, but we'll let you know more next week. But thank you. Gotta get one last in. Thank you all for watching, and we'll catch you all next week.
All right, take care.
See you next time.